What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So the new patch is about to hit, so we're going to check out the changes, but what they actually mean for the game. So like, who is going to get weaker and who is going to get stronger. I'm about to pull out the second round of coaching, by the way. So if you fancy getting coached by me for free and make it into a video, then head on over and leave a comment on the QT page in the description for a chance. Also, make sure you follow me on there if you haven't done that already, so I can update you each time we do new coaching and new giveaways. All the information is in the description. Timestamps are also down there in the description, along with a list of all the changes I'm going to talk about if that's what you're after, but we'll start with the two biggest ones. Amumu has a new rework passive. It looks like it's actually going to stick around as well. It doesn't reduce the magic resist on hit anymore. Instead, magic damage does more damage against those targets, basically. Basic attacks in his ultimate add a curse onto the target for 3 seconds, and they take a 15% bonus true damage from any magic damage dealt to them from any champion. The W doesn't actually apply the curse, but it does refresh it. So if it's already on there, it refreshes those 3 seconds. This, in my opinion, is the most broken change of this patch. He runs in, presses R, everyone takes 15% bonus true damage, which is permanent as long as they stay in Amumu's W tier, which is crazy. I think he's going to be really good this patch, especially in a duo. Like, if you play an AP champion with Amumu, like a Syndra or Orianna or something, and you combo, you can basically 2v5. By the way, Jeremy on Twitter actually tweeted this to me and pointed it out, but Kog'Maw's W percentage damage is magic. So that 7% max health damage he does each hit will do a bonus 15% true damage in theory. That seems fair, right? There is another one though that's also kind of ridiculous. Lux's ultimate now refunds a cooldown if you kill someone with it. It's 10, 30 or 50% cooldown refund if you kill someone. And you know, I was sitting on the toilet the other day and thought to myself, if only Lux's ultimate was a 20-second cooldown, I would play her. She would be so good. That makes no sense. Who thinks of that change and thinks that's a good idea? Maybe Riot came up with the idea for this buff on the toilet as well, because it's complete That's basically what it means though. Like, if you combo kill someone, your ultimate is now reduced about to 20 seconds with a bit of cooldown reduction late game. If I'm honest, I don't even think it's that hard to do this. Like, QER is the most basic thing every Lux does to get a kill, right? Like, if they had said, here, we'll give you 50% of your cooldown back, but you have to use it in a different way to normal or a harder way, I would have thought, okay, maybe that could be cool. One thing is for sure though, everybody is going to kick the dust off their Elementalist Lux skin this week, I think, and we're going to see a lot of bad Luxes. Now we're going to go into each role though. So there are a lot of jungle changes this patch. The first one is to Graves, and they're making him weaker against magic damage. They're removing the magic resist from his quick draw. Now, most people don't even know actually you gain a buff for 4 seconds when you use your quick draw, which stacks up to 8 times. Each stack gives you armor and magic resist, but now it's only going to give you armor. I don't think this is going to be the most obvious thing, not very noticeable, but it will hurt actually, I think. Technically, you could lose out on 120 magic resist late game with this, 40 early game, which is a ton. Jarvan is also getting a buff. His shield is much better and it scales with your total health now. The base shield is going to be slightly down late game, but it is actually up early, so it's even more useful early into the game. Now that change is because the scaling is now 2 to 4% of his maximum health. The more defense you build, the more shield you're going to get. It's a pretty nice change to tank Jarvan, but it also helps that Titanic middle ground kind of damage, kind of tank J4, and I think that's really where you want to go. Honestly, full tank Jarvan doesn't really do very much, but if you can kill the enemy AD by jumping onto them with your combo, then you are in a solid spot. This is a second reworked passive, by the way, for Nunu. It adds effects onto your spells now. First, your health is actually going down health per level as well, but the passive is the bigger thing. After 5 attacks, your next spell is free like normal, but it has an effect now. With the consume, it's more damage and more of a heal. With the blood boil, it's more move speed and more attack speed. The ice blast, your E, is more damage and more slow, and your ultimate has more maximum damage if you channel it for longer. The short version is, if you use this passive with a spell, it is a buffed version of the original spell. I really think this is going to bring him back, like no joke. Stoneborn Pact and Nunu is already pretty strong and flying under the radar. You can actually have Stoneborn permanently on someone just by using your E over and over. This is a big buff for him, and I think it's enough to bring him back properly. It's good news if you hate yourself enough to play Nunu anyway. Rengar's also getting more nerfs. I'm pretty surprised actually by this. Your Q is going to do less damage now. The base damage is down a little bit, but the AD ratio is down 10% at every rank. I'm not gonna lie, like, is Rengar really that big of a problem right now? I haven't been one-shot by one in a long time. Maybe it's because he's banned all the time, I don't know, but he seems to be in a more decent spot. So what do you guys think? Maybe it's a bit unlucky actually. Another unlucky one is to Shaco. There are a few nerfs. Your backstab and your Q is going to do less damage now. The passive crit damage on the backstab is 130% now plus some AP ratio instead of 120 to 145%. So you're losing 15% late game, which kind of sucks. Q is probably the bigger one though. Like, the cooldown is up 2 seconds early to 16 seconds, which is a long time actually. And now it doesn't do any more damage than normal. When you hit somebody afterwards, you used to have bonus damage. That's gone. Like, it legit is just a stealth tool now. That is it. Shaco is probably one of the best champions you can play in the jungle right now, especially mid to late game with that bruiser build, but making his Q do no damage seems a little bit extreme. I think he is still going to be really good, but it's definitely a hit, and a good hit. Like, he is the best jungler at higher ranks. So finally, Volibear then. You have double the ultimate bounces, and it's supposed to be smarter, and it's going to bounce 8 times now. In theory, that's an extra 400-ish damage, even just at level 6, like possibly, which is pretty good. We might see this help him a little bit, but sadly, we're not really in a tank meta anyway, right? So I think he's playable, but he's probably not going to be the best. So this means Amumu and Nunu got big buffs, then Jarvan and Volibear got an okay buff, and Graves, Rengar, and Shaco all got nerfed. What that actually means for the game is Amumu and AP champions will become a lot more popular, as will just like AP and Amumu anyway, but all of your Orianas, Syndras, and stuff like that will probably have like a passive indirect win rate boost. Nunu with crit champions is going to be really, really strong and really irritating to play against, but we're likely going to see more Warwick and Kha'Zix. They're going to come up if Rengar, Shaco, and Graves are nerfed, and the same as well for Xin and Master Yi. It will be better as like late game choices in the jungle now. Ivern will probably be back to being the most powerful jungle champion, stat-wise at least above Shaco. So moving on to the mid lane then, Lux 1 we've already mentioned, the ultimate cooldown being refunded, right? That's the biggest mid change in my opinion. Kassadin though has more overall damage with his E and his R, and his W is less buggy, which should mean he does more damage with it. I think Kassadin might be a bit sleeper right now, and this could be the nudge that he needs to come back, to be honest. Your W has the bug fix, right? So in theory does a bit more damage, like reliably anyway. Your E cooldown is down a second, and also your R AP ratio is up 10%. I don't think these buffs are massive at all. You don't even try to stack that much AP deliberately on Kassadin, like Lichbane, Zhonya's, and Abyssal. Those are core items, and they're not really like Deathcap, Morello, Ludens that you can go for pure burst, like pure AP, right? I think this is more about nudging people to play him, so I'd actually keep your eye on him this patch. I think it's going to be pretty good. Katarina also cannot jump around as much anymore, especially early with this nerf. The cooldown has been changed from 10 to 8 to 14 to 8. This actually matters more than you probably think because of the way daggers work with her. Now, most people assume it just resets the cooldown when you jump onto a dagger. That's not actually true. When you pick up a dagger, it reduces the E cooldown by 78% to 96% depending on your level, which goes up at 1, 6, 11, and 16. Level 1 is 78% though, so in really basic terms, picking up a dagger now leaves you with about 3 seconds of a cooldown on your E left instead of 2 seconds. I think that's pretty big in the middle of a fight actually, but luckily you rank this up second, so by level 13 it won't really make any difference, and honestly by like level 11 you won't really feel it much anyway. Before that, before level 11, it is actually a nerf though to how much you can jump around, and probably reduces her lane power. So Talon is the last mid change, and the damage is down a little bit, but it's more than it seems. So it's actually only 20 off of rank 1. Down 20 damage is not the biggest change ever, but remember, if you cast this from melee range, then this crits and deals 150% damage instead. So actually it's 150% of that 20, so like 30 damage off at least early. It's not the biggest change, but I think like this is going to target the cheesy kills that Talon can get level 2 or 3 in lane using this. That's going to be where it hits. So basically for the mid lane, Lux got a big buff late game. Kassadin's small kind of buffs, but he's actually probably pretty good. And Katarina and Talon got nerfed. More than anything, this means Fizz just got even better than he was before. He's really good at preying on immobile mages, and Lux is going to become much more popular in this patch. Talon will probably have to roam more to get ahead rather than 1v1 early to cheese it, so we'll see less snowballing Talon most likely, but that means Vel'Koz and Twisted Fate I think will come up a bit more. Versus Lux and similar picks like that, they kind of get free lanes and they crush mid game, and it's also where Kassadin comes in against all of these mages. I'd expect to see a few more Cassiopeias and Zed do better as well, like coming in with all of these changes. Now moving on to the top lane, Camille has no more healing from minions, and the ultimate duration is actually down as well. I think these are two pretty big changes. Your W used to heal for 100% of the bonus damage she dealt, which was a percentage of their max health actually, but now it's only going to heal against champions. The ultimate as well was 4 seconds duration at every rank, but it's now 2.5 seconds to 4 seconds depending on rank. Now cutting off 1.5 seconds rank 1 is a good chunk, like it's almost half of it, right? And it makes ganking for a Camille harder, and it's now easier to escape her early. Late game, you're still going to be boned against her I think though, but basically like I think she has a weaker lane phase, no healing, less time stuck in that ultimate, which will make a difference. Mid game you should be a bit weaker because of those early lane phase changes, but late game team fights are going to be the same. We're going to play out the same anyway. The Galio rework as well is pretty nuts right now. Most people have not clocked just how good he really is as a tank yet, but he does a lot of damage. They're going to make him do less damage now, quite a bit less actually. The first thing is his passive, so this is the thing where his next attack deals magic damage to nearby enemies every 8 seconds, and it's going to do slightly less late game. Also with the Q, the AP ratio has actually gone up on this because the percentage damage is down. So 15% of a ratio boost for your AP, but the max health damage is down 3%. Overall, you are losing a bit of damage on your passive and a lot of damage on your Q if you're fighting tank tanks. If you build tank anyway, that's kind of the deal. I still think full tank is the best way to go, but maybe with an abyssal thrown in as well as a magic resist item to boost his damage, now it's not as great on its own. So really, Camille has less sustain and the ultimate is worse. The lane phase will be worse overall, and Galio has less damage on his Q and passive. This means that Camille will be easier to lane against, and that buffs a lot of bruisers actually right now. Like, there's two types of champions it buffs, aggressive and defensive ones. Gangplank, Yasuo, Swain, Maokai, Galio, for example, can survive the lane a bit easier now because Camille was a very good matchup against them. Renekton, Darius, Kled, Fiora can fight her more now, and they get a lead easier because they're pretty decent against her. Pantheon and Tryndamere will probably be a bit better as we move into more bruisers. They can like cheese these guys early levels to get a pretty big lead and snowball from there. We're going to see a lot more Kled as well, especially with Camille down and the rise of other bruisers who he also beats. It's like a double bonus really. I personally think Irelia and Jax will become better with Trinity and Blade of the Ruined King now as well. It just takes a little bit of time for these picks to come back and be played more because they weren't very popular before that. The bot lane's lost, but it's not really getting touched at all, and probably because of the big crit item changes coming mid-season in a few patches, but there is one support one. Alice's passive is going to heal more allies now, and your E does more damage and has a lower cooldown. Now, honestly, I reckon this is because of the new skin. Your passive is going to heal all allies now, not just the closest one, which is pretty big, and your E cooldown is down 4 seconds at every rank. As I said, I reckon it's a skin. I'm not going to lie. It's a nice change, especially with his passive, but that new skin is pretty cool. It's pretty memey, and I think a lot of people are going to buy it just for the annoying cowbell sound. The E cooldown is like the bigger part of that though. Like with cooldown reduction, you can use this a decent amount more in fights to disrupt people. Nice little changes, might seem a bit more, especially with Kalista actually bot lane. What that means for supports though is there are two types really that are going to be dominant: lane bullies and defensive supports. Defensive are best paired with crit champions or auto based ones who buy like Sensor, Redemption, Locket, and they just allow the AD carries to auto attack for longer. Lane bullies are paired with more early focused ADs who take ignite and they try to punish the item reliant crit ADs and the defensive supports before they get their items. There are actually no AD carry changes this patch, so that means we're likely going to see lots of Lucian and Ezreal still like dominating pretty much. Caitlyn, Twitch, and probably some more Jinx actually for the auto attacking based ones with Sensor. We're also going to see a rising Vayne and Kalista, I reckon, as people realize they're a bit stronger again than they were before. Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching until the end, but for now, let's go to the robots.